What's up, beautiful ladies and handsome men? I am not sure what's true or false in this story. I take gossip, tea, rumor, and scandal from yesteryear, from online, from word of mouth, from books, and I ball it up and I tell you guys a story. Now, let's get to it.
Now let's move on to Miss Janet, honey. Janet is the baby of the Jackson bunch, and she was born on May the 16th, 1966. Gossip claims that little Janet was a spoiled brat and that she was everybody in the family's baby. She started her singing career with her siblings at a very early age, and not only singing, she started an acting career. But it was in 1982 that she first started her solo singing career, and her father Joe managed her career just like he did with her other sisters. However, her 1982 solo album with Joe did not do very well, and like I said, Janet was the baby, and so she huffed and puffed, and she told her daddy, "Daddy, you old school, that little mess ain't working no more." And so by 1986, Janet had moved on to start working with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Their collaboration gave Janet hit songs and a hit album, and Miss Jackson, If You Nasty, was on her way. Now let's go ahead and get to the tea. Now, when Janet was around 15, 16 years old, she went to a Soul Train taping with her sister Latoya and her brother Jermaine. And while she was at this taping, there was this light-skinned, curly-haired group there by the name of DeBarge. Janet and the youngest singing DeBarge brother, James, started to talk, and they hit it off. This quickly went from flirting to full-blown passion, and before you know it, Janet Jackson was head over heels for that slick-headed boy. And soon she was defying her parents' orders just to sneak around and go meet up with that slick-headed boy. When it was clear that Janet and James were going to be together, meet up, sneak around, and do things no matter what anybody said, to Janet and James, the next logical step for them was to get married. But truly, the whole thing was illogical. It was so illogical that Janet didn't even tell her parents about this. She ran away to Grand Rapids, Michigan, where James DeBarge was living, and his uncle married them. She eloped with James. At the time, Janet was 18 years old. And Lord have mercy, their marriage was a hot mess. Listen to what happened on the wedding night. So they get married and they get to the room, and the folks say that Janet is in there expecting a full night of passion. You know, this is her wedding night. Baby, they say James climbed on top of that doggone girl, gave her a quickie, kissed her on the forehead, and told her he would be right back. Not only did James not come right back, the boy didn't come back at all. Janet spent that whole night by herself in the hotel room. And James wasn't cheating or anything like that. James DeBarge was hooked on drugs. Janet didn't fully understand what was going on, but even after this embarrassing first night, she still loved James and she wanted to make it work. And so eventually, her parents found out about her being married to James. The Jacksons were said to have been furious, but they were willing to semi-deal with it as long as Janet and James lived with them in the Jackson family compound so they can kind of keep an eye on their daughter and her new husband. Well, honey, James moved in and had Janet Jackson running ragged, baby. That boy would disappear for 3-4 days at a time. Janet would have to ride through the hood looking for him. I don't know if y'all know how big of a deal that is. I said Janet Jackson, and Michael Jackson's little sister, riding through a hood, a thug environment, a ghetto, looking for James DeBarge. But Janet was willing to do this for James. When she did find out that he was using drugs, she gave her all to help him, to get him off of drugs. She really wanted them to work. It is claimed that sometimes it got so bad, he and Janet would be fighting for the drugs. You know, she would be trying to take them from him so she can flush them down the toilet, and he would jump on her back and wrestle her to the ground. So, you know, she really tried to help him. And before long, Janet started to get tired, and gossip claims that James started to notice that Janet was starting to get tired. And so he would start feeling down about himself. You know, why is my life so messed up? Why is this happening to me? You know, I'm not good for anybody. And rumor has it that one night this very thing happened, and James DeBarge climbed up on the roof of the Jackson family home and threatened to jump. He wanted to end his life because he was just that depressed. Everybody was frantic. Janet was rumored to be crying. Randy and Jermaine were rumored to be yelling up, telling James to come down. Catherine was on the ground probably talking about some damn. Joe Jackson talking about some, James, why don't you jump? You say you want to end it. You're tired of life. You ain't doing this. Well, son, go ahead and jump. Luckily, Michael was the only one that really had any real type of sense in the situation. He actually went up on the roof with James and he ended up talking James down. Now, stunts like this not only scared the Jackson family, stunts like this scared Janet as well. They were too well known of a family to have a druggie that was threatening to jump and end his life. And I know I put that harshly, but let's be honest, that's the way the world was going to look at this situation. Janet and the rest of the Jacksons, they knew that. Being married to James was becoming a lot. Janet loved him to death, but this whole situation was embarrassing. People in the family were talking. Joe and Catherine never did truly approve of the match, allegedly. And so it was just too much. Not even a year after Janet and James married, their marriage was annulled. Now, of course, you have this bit of tea out there that is saying that before Janet and James got divorced, that Janet actually got pregnant and she ended up giving birth to a baby girl. Some sources say that this child was given to Randy to raise, and this child is actually Stevonna Jackson. Other sources say the child went with James and he raised this child, and the child is actually Christina or Christina DeBart. And then even more sources claim that the child is Tiffany White. And I'm sorry, y'all, I'm being messy, but y'all know I had to do it again. Y'all knew I had to do it again. I used to feel like there was a big chance that there was a child that existed between James and Janet, but now after Janet has pretty much come out and stated that all of that is just one big fat lie, I no longer believe it, but some people still do. Tell me what you think. Now, that's some tea on one of Janet's big relationships. Now let's move on to some of Janet Jackson's small relationships. And honey, this first rumor was a doozy for me because I had no idea that it was rumored and alleged out on these streets that Miss Janet Jackson was dating Magic Johnson. These folks ain't tried to hide nothing, ain't tried to deny nothing. As a matter of fact, there are pictures with Magic Johnson and Janet Jackson basically kissing each other full on in the mouth. But that ain't nothing, baby. This next gossip rumor set up there and blew my hair straight back, honey. Baby said that Janet Jackson was messing around with Michael Jordan as well. But check me out. Gossip claims that not only was Michael Jordan messing around with Janet Jackson, said that he was messing around with Vivica Fox and Robin Givens at the same time as well. Now, I ain't gonna kid y'all none. All of this came from the gossip blogs, but I'm just telling you what's out in the street. Now let's talk about poetic justice, because there are two different rumors out here. The first rumor says that Janet and Tupac had this energy going on, like they were really attracted to each other. And although I didn't see anything where they were messing around, it's just said that, they were pretty much close to it. But the second rumor says something totally different. According to this rumor, Janet was acting like she was, stuck up and too good for Tupac. According to this rumor, Janet said that she would not kiss Tupac. Baby, she wouldn't even touch Tupac unless he had an AIDS test done. So, y'all take that how you will. But child, they say it was another bad boy. Y'all know, Bobby Brown. Now, gossip claims that Bobby Brown really liked Janet Jackson. And although there are a lot of sources that allegedly confirm that Janet Jackson and Bobby Brown did mess around, it's claimed that Janet Jackson never took Bobby Brown seriously. So gossip claims that one night Janet Jackson came over to do the little do with Bobby Brown, and after it was over, Bobby was kind of professing his love for her, telling her that he wanted them to be together. Janet told him, no, Bobby, like I can't do that. I'm sorry, I just can't do that. Baby said that Bobby Brown got so mad and butthurt that he kicked Janet Jackson out of his house with only panties and bra on. And some stories say that she didn't even have that on. Well, all of this extra stuff proved to be way too much for Miss Jackson if you're nasty, honey. She just trying to have fun. You catching feelings, kicking her out and all this kind of stuff. So baby, the folks say that she left Bobby Brown crazy till alone. And girl, they said that Bobby Brown got butt hurt. Said that he felt kind of like tossed away trash, you know what I'm saying? She kind of treated him like a thought. And allegedly, because he did feel discarded and he did have his ego hurt, Bobby Brown basically started going around telling anybody who would listen that Janet wouldn't give him a real chance because he was dark-skinned. Started telling everybody that Joe Jackson and Catherine wouldn't let Janet really date him because, he was a ghetto guy. Because he grew up in the hood, he wasn't good enough for Janet. He didn't point his fingers to the side enough when he danced fans like Janet. I made that last part up. But basically, you get what I'm saying. Bobby Brown was just like going around saying any and everything as to why Janet wouldn't get serious with him. Well, this behavior did not help with Janet at all. Allegedly, she never messed around with him again. And not only that, she won't, even to this day, like ever admit that she ever messed around with him. Now, rumor says in 1987, Janet Jackson started dating a guy by the name of Rene Elizondo, and then they ended up getting married in 1991. And if Janet had never been in love before, she was totally, fully in love with this guy. This was the time period that she wrote songs like That's the Way Love Goes, Anytime, Any Place, and gossip claims that Rene even helped her write a lot of these songs. So to say that Janet was sprung was an understatement. But then some tea would spill that would set the rumor world on fire. Around 1997, Janet Jackson employed a chef by the name of Riccardo Macchi. And I guess one day Riccardo Macchi ended up getting sick. He went to the doctor wrote him a little prescription, and he went to the pharmacy to fill his prescription. And again, this is what I imagine. I don't know exactly how this happened. I just imagine this. While he was waiting, I suppose a pharmacist came from the back and was like, "Oh, hi, Mr. Macchi. Since you're here, would you also like to pick up your Zovirac, your Recambavax, and your Revia?" And you know when that woman said that, Ricardo's head turned around like a Swiffer sweeper, honey. Because Zovirax was a prescription for herpes. Recambavax was a prescription for hepatitis B. And Revia, basically it was like a drug to help somebody from relapsing. And okay, all of that, STDs, drugs, whatever the case, all of that normal. You know, it's not a problem. The problem came in because Riccardo Macchi had never taken any of this medication in his life. He didn't have no doggone herpes, he didn't have drug issues, and he dang on sure didn't have Hep B. So what the heck was going on? Baby, they say that man got to fussing and digging to try to see what was going on, dug right down to the bottom and found Janet and Rene. They had stolen this chef's identity and was getting these prescriptions filled under his name. And if you need to take a little minute to yourself and fall out real quick, you can, because I didn't know nothing about this. Just to tell you the rest of the story, once the chef found out, he confronted Janet and Rene, and he also sued the pants off of them. Unfortunately for Chef Macchi, his case was thrown out because he could not prove that he had suffered damages. But to me, the damage is they stole this doggone guy's identity and now got everybody in the pharmacy believing he was taking these medications. But anyways, the case was thrown out. Well, after this scandal, it is alleged that things were pretty much over between Janet and Rene. They started arguing a lot, and allegedly Janet started to seek comfort elsewhere. Elsewhere was with one of her backup dancers, a female backup dancer. As a matter of fact, gossip claims that Rene caught Janet cheating on him. Now, I don't know if he supposedly caught her in the bed or anything like that, but just allegedly caught her up some type of way, cheating on him with a female. And then their marriage allegedly suffered even more because Rene started trying to put the hands on Janet Jackson, but found out that Janet was Joe's daughter, and the whole thing was flipped around to Janet putting the hands on Rene and busting that boy all upside the head. And I know that all this is tea and gossip. We don't know what's true or false, and all of this is alleged, but I guess that Janet really did turn into Joe Jackson because, they say after a few months that Rene was sitting up there trying to file for divorce, honey. The year was 2000. Gossip claims that he was asking for $25 million. Janet said no way, and then allegedly Janet ended up giving him $10 million, even though he had signed a prenup at the beginning of the marriage. After her marriage with Rene ended, rumor has it that Janet threw herself into multiple flings. Gossip claims that one of those flings was with Matthew McConaughey. Say that he took her out to dinner one night and then she sold him up later on that night and then left him high and dry. Soon after that fling in 2002, gossip claims that Justin Timberlake met up with Janet. I guess they practiced on some dance moves. Janet sold him up, shot him the deuces, and left him hanging as well. Gossip claims that the next person was Q-Tip. It is rumored that Janet and Q-Tip had a relationship or a connection all the way back when she was working on Poetic Justice, but it was not until 2002 that they acted on this connection, and it's alleged that Q-Tip got sold up a couple of times in the bedroom, and then soon Janet shot him the deuces and left him where he was standing as well. Some folks also allege that somewhere along the line Janet Jackson messed around with Johnny Gill. And now let's get to some kabooyah type of tea. I guess sometime in 2002, Janet Jackson ended up going to a Boys to Men concert. Wanye got to hitting them runs and that head got to shaking everywhere. And baby, I guess Janet looked up to the stage and was like, I can imagine that head shaking somewhere else. Child, listen. I don't know if Wanye's head got to shaking in the bedroom with his tongue stuck out or not. All I know is gossip claims that he also was sewed up in the bedroom a few times, and then he got the deuces shot to him as well. And with all of this tea and gossip, it really seems like 2002 was the year of fun for Janet Jackson. I guess that was her year to let loose. But the folks say that Janet Jackson tried to do that little hit and run to another man, but he wasn't having it. And this guy is said to be Jermaine Dupri. Gossip claims that Jermaine Dupri made Janet Jackson feel like a natural woman. He didn't need anything from her. He didn't ask anything from her. He didn't come to her with drug problems, and he was not a man that needed to be fixed in any way. Gossip claims that whenever Janet got with Jermaine, it was pure fun. He made Janet Jackson feel like she could be herself without her having to give anything in return. And so Janet was said to have appreciated this immensely, and their relationship was good for a while. But gossip claims after probably about 3 or 4 years in, things just kind of got real. The honeymoon phase was kind of over, and the relationship turned very real, and it turned into very real work. And word on the streets is that they gave it all they got for a good 6 years, and then in 2008, rumor has it that Jermaine Dupri stepped out with another woman. Some sources say that Janet caught him in the bed with another woman, and as much as Jermaine Dupri wanted to keep the relationship going, it is alleged that Janet shot the deuce. Now, I guess after her 2008 split from Jermaine Dupri, Janet Jackson kind of slowed down. She had already went through a whole phase that everybody has, so it really seems like she just started to slow down and focus on herself. And then in 2010, rumor has it that her brother Jermaine introduced her to Wissam Almana. He and Janet started dating, they fell in love, and then they married in 2013. And as much as I be digging to find gossip tea, alleged scandals, and all this kind of good stuff, I really could not find anything about the inside of Janet and Wissam's relationship. And it's most likely because it's claimed that Wissam is a very, very private person. I do know that he and Janet ended up having his son in 2017, but then right after that, they ended up getting a divorce. Now, that is all of the tea that I have from the Jackson girls, but now let's get into some of this good old Joe Jackson and Catherine tea. And this tea says that Joe Jackson was a dirty, lying, cheating dog, honey. He played the part of a good family man, but as soon as his son started making money, he started stepping out. Said he started messing with some women of the night, showgirls, dancers, and things like that. But then when the big bucks did start coming in and they became millionaires, gossip claims that Joe Jackson liked to mess with beautiful women who were half his age. And they say that he was so used to being successful with his cheating that one time his behind got bold enough to hire one of his mistresses as his secretary. And baby, this is where the tea gets spicy strawberry lemonade, because everybody thinks that Catherine Jackson just kind of sat around and let this happen. Baby, the word on the streets is that Catherine Jackson was a mother effing G. Honey, they say that Catherine heard about this new little secretary. Baby said that Catherine was like, oh baby, I know y'all must have done really lost y'all mind. You think I done had 50 million kids for you to come in here with your little flat stomach and ruin it all and steal my man? I imagine that once Catherine found out, she was just in the bathroom slicking her hair back, putting her in a ponytail, putting Vaseline all over her face. Randy and Janet walked in the bathroom and was like, what's going on, mama? And Catherine probably told her kids straight up, babies, I'm on my way to whoop some ass. I don't know how the lead up happened. All I know is that gossip claims that Catherine, Janet, and Randy jumped in a car and they sped down there to Joe's office to confront his secretary. Say as soon as they got out of the car, Janet and Randy went and grabbed that secretary's arms and held her arms down like this. Catherine came off up in there and started punching that woman all up in her doggone stomach. Then they say the woman started screaming and stuff, child. They say that Catherine lifted up that long flowy church skirt and her, Janet, and Randy ran out to that car and didn't stop until they got home. Baby, when Joe came up in there, Catherine was sitting down in in the living room reading a Watchtower magazine like ain't nothing went on. And rumor has it that Catherine got away with it for a little while, honey, but soon that woman ended up filing a lawsuit, and gossip claims that Joe Jackson paid her a settlement out of court. So Joe definitely learned a lesson, but gossip claims that he definitely did not learn the lesson, which was to stop cheating on his wife. Joe took this whole episode and just felt like he would become smarter with it. It's claimed that he had a separate phone line installed into his home, and this was really necessary because rumor has it that Joe Jackson had started a very, very serious sideline relationship. The woman he was alleged to be dating was a young beauty by the name of Cheryl Terrell. In fact, rumor has it that he and Miss Cheryl Terrell had a 25-year side relationship, and this relationship resulted in a child, a daughter by the name of Giovanni Jackson.
Hold up, pause, and rewind, baby. Shut the front door. Now listen, honey, I knew all about Cheryl Terrell and her little relationship with Joe and all this kind of stuff, but baby, I did not know that it is alleged that she first started off as a groupie for the Jackson 5, honey. The folks is out here on the street saying that even some of the boys laid her down, meaning it's very possible, or it's alleged, that she slept with some of the brothers before she caught Joe's eye and became his main side chick. Did y'all know that? Baby, just a hot mess. And I'm sick. That's why my voice sound like Barry White. But let's move on.
Now, we are definitely close to the end of this video, but let's jump back a little minute. Some of y'all might have been surprised about Randy and Janet ganging up and going to fight somebody. Supposedly, there were plenty of times where Janet and Randy teamed up and went to beat some tail. One of those times happened soon after Michael Jackson died. It was when Catherine was taking care of Michael's children. Well, Catherine was taking care of her grandchildren, but her children, Janet and all of the rest of them, felt like their mother needed to have a break. That's what they told the press. But gossip claims what really happened is that they wanted their mother to be away from Michael's children so they could talk to their mother about Michael's will, and perhaps her fighting the will so they can get a piece of Michael's money. Whatever the real truth was, the Jackson children, Janet, Randy, everybody else, came and got their mother Catherine from Michael's children's house, and they took Catherine to Arizona so she could get rest, or so they could talk to her about the will, you know, whatever. So anyways, Michael's children come home. They notice that their grandmother is missing, and then after a few days, she's still missing. She never comes home. So this is when Paris goes online and she tells the world, you know, my grandmother has been kidnapped. Well, honey, as soon as Janet saw the tweet or the post or whatever it was, Janet called Randy and was like, you ready? And baby, they jumped on a flight in the midnight hour and flew their way over to the children's house. And when they get to the house, guess who else is there? Jermaine Jackson. All hell breaks loose. Randy and Jermaine allegedly just start fighting. I'm guessing they were fighting because of Alejandra. I don't know what the deal was, but it's alleged that those brothers started fighting, okay? Janet is not worried about them, though. The whole reason that she came to the children's house is because she wants to have a talk with Paris, and she wants to tell Paris, stop posting that BS online. You know mama is with us. But while Janet is fussing at Paris and telling her this, Janet tries to jerk the phone out of Paris's hand. Rumor has it that Paris yanked her phone back, and some rumors even say that Paris slapped Janet in the face. The story claims that Janet Jackson saw red and tried to lay Paris out, said that she started busting Paris all upside her head. In the middle of this melee and all of this ruckus that's going on, Catherine Jackson's nephew, Trent Jackson, walks into the room. He wants to break up everybody fighting, but he heads to Randy and Jermaine first. Well, gossip claims that Trent gets over there, tries to break them up, and then he gets punched in the face. Trent just starts swinging. He punches Jermaine in the mouth, and then he puts Randy in a headlock. And then gossip claims that he marches them over to the front door, pushes them both out, and then grabs Janet and pushes her out as well. Now, this big, huge family fight made headline news, but of course, within 24 hours, it was watered down to basically saying that not really anything happened. You know, Paris just kind of yanked her phone from her aunt, and they even put out some grainy video footage to show everybody outside and kind of tussling or whatever. But gossip claims that the real true fighting happened in the doggone house, and that it was a lot more that went on than what the news reported. But anyways, guys, we are finally at the end of this video. I hope you guys liked it and enjoyed it. I have to go now because I have more videos to work on. Love you guys. Oh, and subscribe. Go on, subscribe. Doggone it. Love y'all. Bye.